You may have started seeing these LED lights a lot, especially in remodels. We decided to use these all throughout our DIY house build. I'm going to show you some ins and outs of our install process, a few tricks that we learned, and of course, how are we liking them in the first 6 months in our new house. These particular lights take out the can light idea where you have to mount the entire can and then put a bulb in later. It still gives you a very kind of nice, clean, minimalistic, simple look, which we like. I'll put a link in the description below for the lights that we actually purchased. They're about $7 each, whereas at Home Depot and Lowe's, they seem to be going for about $20 to $30 each for a 6-inch light. These are essentially what comes in the package for the light. You have your main light, which connects. You have your wiring box that you get all wired up for your electrical inspection, and then after drywall, you add in your light. So the first step for us was deciding for sure where we wanted all of these lights to go. We did have a little bit of a lighting plan in our blueprints, but we really had to figure out specifically what we wanted, how many lights we wanted, and where they were gonna go. To kind of give a visual, especially in this really big main living room, we decided to use paper plates and paper bowls. What this did for us was it just gave us a visual of how spread out everything was going to look and be before we really started measuring and attaching these boxes. Once we got an idea for everything, we started measuring and installing the boxes. We wired a little over 50 of these lights throughout our house and on our porches. The only real challenge we had during the wiring, besides just the general tediousness of wiring over 50 of these boxes, is that inside here is very tight. Every connection has to be perfect and solid because you're daisy chaining it. So if one of these boxes is off, it's just like those old school Christmas lights, nothing's gonna work in the chain. And here's an example where that happened.
Completely safe. Cover your eyes.
That's encouraging.
Well?
Yeah, there's a problem right there.
You know what that problem is up there?
Huh?
You know what it is?
What is it?
It's your wife wiring all the lights.
I know, that sounds making me nervous.
That's the problem.
Hey, there we go. That was the weak link.
Like many LEDs too, the lumens on this are adjustable. So if you want warmer light, you want brighter light, that is an option. On the box itself, there is a switch where you can adjust the lumens. We chose to go kind of in the middle, so it's not the brightest bright, but it's not very warm either. And that worked out really well with our color scheme in our house and our paints. After wiring up the boxes, that means that we're ready for electrical inspection, and then after passing inspection, you're ready to hang the drywall. But there is no can light for the drywallers to cut around. Now, if we'd done the drywall ourselves, or we didn't have our drywallers in such a rush, we might have talked to them and tried to get them to pre-cut it, but it was really just easier to let them do their job and us take care of it after. That means though, that this box is now lost somewhere behind drywall. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want to lose your box location. You do have a little bit of slack on both ends of this, but you need to be within maybe a foot of where your box is, where you're going to cut your hole. So we tracked this really 2 ways. Number one, Ryan, always the innovator, decided to make a device for marking the floor since we couldn't mark the ceiling before drywall. Wherever we had boxes mounted, we would line up this little device, which he has not named and patented yet, but I guess he needs to. We had a little laser level that was perfectly level, put it on the floor, and then spray painted the floor so we could reuse the same tool, put it right on that mark, and find the spot on the ceiling to cut. Since this was kind of a new way and we were a little concerned again about losing the boxes and finding our exact marks, I measured 2 walls so we could find the exact spot in case the mark rubbed off, which is exactly what ended up happening in some cases. We were working on this floor so much, some of those spray paint marks ended up rubbing off and it was really hard to see. So it was a great way to double check ourselves, use the mark, but also we had the measurements to fall back on. This worked really, really well. I think there was only one spot where it was a little bit far and it was in just a kind of a tight spot in a closet where the marking was hard to find, but we still ended up getting it because again, you got a little bit of a reach on the light and the box. We also got a really great tool for the drywall. We had to fix a few holes on it where it just came a little bit loose, but that was just user error where I didn't notice it had loosened up a little and our holes got cut a little too big. But since our drywallers weren't quite done, we were able to patch it and let them mud it and cover it up, and you'll never know by looking at it that it happened. That was definitely on me. So as you can see, this ended up looking fantastic and we love it. One of the things even I love is since it isn't a can light, there isn't that recessed area that you have to dust all the time and cobwebs are getting caught in. It's completely flat. So the only really problems I guess we've had, we did have one section of the kitchen where everything kind of turned off on one side, and it was obviously one of the daisy chain problems because of wiring. So we kind of went up there, fiddled with it, made sure everything was tightened up. That actually brings out another nice part about these, because these come out so easy. If you want to paint the ceiling, they pop right out. If you need to check your wiring, it pops right out and you can check your box. Obviously it can get a little hard to get up in through that hole depending on where your box is at. That's why you want to keep them close. Really easy to replace, really easy to maintenance, to check on things. The only other issue we maybe have that we want to still work on is you can kind of see on some of them where our hole is just a tiny bit too big. And you can see a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of a dark spot around it. You don't really see them when the lights are on, but if it's a really big bright room like our living room and the lights are off, you can definitely see it in some spots. So that we still need to patch and paint up a little bit just to cover up. It's kind of our primary lighting, and then we have our secondary lighting with, say, a porch light, pendant lights, fan light, but these are our main lighting that we use every day, and we absolutely love them. After installing them, using them, we 100% would recommend these for a new home, for a remodel. They're just really easy to use, install, take out, and have been very, very good for us so far.